Hi, I want to show you how to perform some finite element analysis on some of your products. We're going to create something that looks like this and we're going to test it. And so this is a slant board and I've applied a certain amount of force to the middle of this slant board to see how it would react to any given amount of force. So the first thing we need to do is actually design the slant board. So let's do that first. So I'm going to come up here to design. And here's the slant board right here. It's made out of acrylic, 5mm acrylic. And so I'm going to create a new design. I'm going to start with a sketch, and I want this to be on this plane. So when I click on this plane, I should see front right here. And we want this to be the size of an A3 sheet of paper, maybe just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start by creating a 2-point rectangle. I'm going to start it here, and I'm going to pull this out. The thickness of our acrylic is going to be 5mm. So I want this dimension to be 5. And then I'm going to hit the tab key and I'm going to make this 330. A3 paper is about 30 centimeters in its portrait orientation. So that's how big I want this to be. So this is our rectangle. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate this rectangle. So I'm going to select the whole thing and I'm going to click on the M key and I'm going to rotate this 20 degrees and then click OK. Now, I'm going to need to extend out this line here. So I'm going to create a line and I'm going to start it here and I'm going to just pull this line a little bit out. You'll see why we need that later. And then I'm going to hit the escape key. My next step is I want to draw a line from this corner over to this green line over here. So I go to the line tool, click on this. I want to make sure that my degrees are 0, and I want to just pull this over here and connect it to this line. I'm going to pull a line to go all the way up now and connect it up here. Let me zoom in a little bit so I can see that. And I want to connect it basically there. Okay. And then my next step is to draw another rectangle. So I'm going to click on the 2-point rectangle and I'm going to start it here and I'm going to pull this up until it's inside right there. So I want it to connect with this over here. And I need this to be 5mm. So you can see right now it's 4.880. So I'm going to just type in 5 and then click. That should do it for my sketch. So let me finish my sketch and then I need to extrude this. I'm going to click on the home key there. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to select from the extrude. I want to extrude everything that's over here. This, and that. And I want to extrude it this way. In this case, it's going to be negative. So I'm going to do negative 330. If yours is positive, just type in positive 330. But essentially, we want this to be 330 millimeters. And then I'm going to click OK. So here's my slant board right here. I know it's below this plane right here, but that doesn't really matter. So my next step would be to create the materials on this. So I'm going to rename this. It's good practice to rename these things. So I'm going to rename this as 20-degree slant board. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select materials for this. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go to physical materials. And I know that I want to create this out of acrylic and I like the clear acrylic. So I'm going to just pull this here, but I don't really want the like clear. So I want to add some color to this. Right click on this. So 2-finger click on edit and advanced. And I'm going to change the appearance of this. So I'm going to go to Pantones and just pick something that I like. How about a nice, why don't we do something that's like orange? There we go. How about this one? That's a nice shade of orange. I'm going to click OK and then apply, and there we go. So now I have my slant board created right here. And it's the correct materials, got a nice color. The next thing we want to do is save this. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this 20-degree orange slant board, and then click save. Next thing we need to do is make these into components. So I'm going to make this into a component, just like that. So if you right click on that, you can create components from your bodies. All right, so now it's time to simulate some mass on this. So I'm going to click on this design down here, and I'm going to go down to simulation. And I want to do a static stress simulation. So I'm going to click on static stress simulation. And this is our slant board right here. Okay. And the first thing I need to do is add some constraints in order to do a simulation. So I'm going to constrain some of this so that, kind of assuming that it won't move. So I click on constraints and structural constraints. And I want to pick all of these sides right here. So you can see how when I did that, I dragged the box around that. It gave me my 4 edges. But I also want this edge here. So I should see 5 edges that are constrained, and these are fixed. I can click OK now. My next step to doing a finite element analysis is to add some loads. So I'm going to click on loads and structural loads. And I want this to be right here. And now the magnitude. So I'm going to make the magnitude here to be, let's say 200 newtons. And the reason I'm picking 200 newtons is that is about the amount of force of gravity that would pull down on about a 20 kilogram mass. So your average kid at about age 7 is about 22 kilograms. So the force that they could probably push down on this board would be about 200 newtons. And I'm going to click OK. Now you can see here in my pre-check, I've got a nice green check mark. That means that everything seems to be okay. And then I'm going to click on solve. And you'll see when you do that, that it's going to say solve your solve, and it's going to tell me its status right here. So it's working on that, and it does take a little while. But let's go back to this one so that you can see what I'm showing here. So once it's solved, and I did a bunch of different case studies on this, but the one that I have here is the one that I want to focus on. You can see in results that you can see the stress that this would be under. So this would be the amount of force. These colors here are the amount of force per, and this is measured in megapascals, so that's pressure. So the amount of force that's being applied to any sort of unit, so square units, so like square centimeters or whatever. I could look at strain, so this would be the deformation, and you can see this is where we're going to get the most deformation is right here. I can also look at safety factors. So the safety factors are good on this. So it's saying that this would be a safe material to actually use. Displacement, you can see that this is where we're going to get the most displacement, and that makes sense because you can see that this is where the bend seems to be the most. So there's lots of different things that you can do in these charts here. One of the things I think you would focus on are stress and strain, because those are going to give you your best understanding of where things are going to deform and where you're getting the most force. So this is how you do a finite element analysis, and thank you for watching.